Episode 5 of Alone, we saw our third person tap out. We end the night down to 7 contestants, and I think one of the front runners was taken out, which makes things a lot more interesting. So we might as well start there with Benji, our third competitor to tap out. You know, he had all the skills, he had all the talents, he had all the arrogance in the world, but it wasn't enough to let him be the last one standing this season of Alone. We saw a lot of Benji this episode. Really, we saw a lot of Benji and Adam this episode, and you could tell right away that one of them was like that way everything was edited together, that one of them was going to tap out. As we got further into the episode, I thought maybe that some of the footage that we'd been shown on the preview was maybe a little bit of bait to make it look like Adam was in much worse condition than he was, because I was led to believe by the preview that Adam was going to be retching up in the middle of the night, but it turns out that was Benji. So let's go back. Let's run through Benji on this episode. We start off, he realizes his shelter isn't quite gonna tarp it or gonna cut it. And are any of us really surprised? I mean, he threw a tarp over a piece of wood and declared that it was going to be his shelter. You know, even the upgraded shelter that he made today, I don't think it would have stood up to winter in Labrador. While you might not experience long periods of minus 40-degree weather, the snowfall. I think they put a graphic up today that said up to 190 inches of snow over the course of the winter. So even if you're talking 4 or 5 feet of snow, what is that dinky little shelter that he made going to do against that? So it was slightly better, a slight upgrade, but still, I didn't think that was going to last him through the winter. Really enjoyed watching Benji criticize people for watching TV while being on a TV show. Like, Benji, we are the reason that this opportunity exists for you. So all these people that you look down on, we are the reason that this opportunity existed for you. And, it wasn't sad to see him tap out at the end of the episode. I feel like everyone else who's left on this season, they're people that we can root for. They're people we can get behind. But Benji, not so much. Possibly the move that sent Benji home, we see him scraping the hide for some extra meat off of the beaver. Now, I don't know exactly how many days it's been since he shot the beaver, or what he's been doing with that hide, where it's been sitting, how much exposure it had to the elements. But scraping all that extra meat off days later and then cooking it up and eating it, I think that could have been what inevitably made him sick and forced him to tap out. We did see Benji take down another grouse. He missed it a couple times, but for him, he was lucky, got that third shot off. You don't always even get the second shot off, but he got the third. But after that, it was all downhill from there, as we saw Benji get sick, wasn't feeling great, cramping, has a fever. It's coming out both ends. He's up all night, retching and in pain. And at, I think it was 6:13 in the morning, he finally decides that he has to tap out. As you probably know, I was not a fan of Benji this season, and I think there's lots of other great competitors who can really go the distance here. And we got to see most of them tonight. I think the only people we didn't see tonight were Terry and Timogen, who, both seem like they could be competitors in this show, especially Terry, who already has that beaver taken down. So he has that store of meat. But anyways, they weren't on the episode tonight, so let's not talk about them. We're just going to go through everybody in the order that they appeared tonight. First off, we saw Jessie for just a brief moment. We really have not seen much of Jessie this entire season, so I kind of feel bad for her on that front. She's still working on that shelter, and looks like there is still a lot of work left. Still working on the frame, still adding more pieces to the frame. I think it might be the most elaborate shelter frame we've ever seen on Alone, but so far that is all we've seen. Let's jump over to the other person who ate up most of the screen time on tonight's episode, and that was Adam. He shoots a squirrel, then he shoots another squirrel, and from there, most of his story was about him being sick. He's not doing great and thinks he has a parasite, Giardia, which is most likely what took Benji out, aka beaver fever. But we really just saw Adam struggling. He was in pain, stomach not feeling great. I think at the start he was constipated, not sure what his end situation was, but he goes and harvests some birch bark for himself to try and help settle his stomach down, and it seems to work. So he starts feeling a little bit better at the end of the episode. I don't think that he's free and clear from the stomach issues, but hopefully for Adam it wasn't as serious as he thought. Next up, let's jump over to Juan Pablo. His episode was all about fishing. First thing he did was build a dock because he made the decision that he was going to focus on fishing. There was no droppings in his areas, no bear trails anywhere in his area. So he feels that the best way for him to collect and store up on calories is going to be fishing. So that's why he goes and builds the dock. It's pretty simple. He kind of makes a little frame, kind of sets it out, I don't know, about 10 feet into the river, throws a couple logs onto it so he can walk out, and that's it. Wasn't some elaborate contraption like we've seen in seasons past. It was pretty simple and it worked, and often on Alone, those are the best solutions because they don't burn up too much calories, but still get you almost the exact same benefit. And the dock pays dividends for Juan Pablo as he starts catching fish right away and ends his first day with 6 fish brought to shore, and they were all a reasonable size. I believe that he ate 3 of them and was going to save 3 for the future. So that's about it for Juan Pablo. If his fishing continues, I think that he could do quite well this season. Next up, we have Carrie Lee. We see her shoot at a squirrel. It seemed like she hit it, but it got away. So not sure if she clipped the squirrel, missed the squirrel, but in the end does not get the squirrel. From there, she heads out fishing, hooks a fish, it gets away, and was wondering if that was going to be her story for the episode, but fortunately she got another fish right away, a nice big trout that should stave off the hunger for a little while. Lastly, we have Tom. We jumped to him at the start of the episode, saw him in his shelter, and I was thinking, why didn't we get to see him build that fireplace? Like, it looks amazing. And thankfully, we go back in time to kind of see a little time lapse of Tom building his shelter, dug into a hill, which I think is a good idea. We'll have to see how it plays out. We're probably going to be dealing with more snowfall than rainfall. I think we were even starting to see the first snowflakes at the end of the episode tonight. So I don't think like moisture running down the hill into his shelter is going to be a huge concern. And as long as he makes his roof well enough, that shouldn't be a problem anyways. But anyway, back to the fireplace. I really like the idea. He kind of built himself a hearth. So just used a bunch of clay and some rocks, built up a little platform, and that's going to be really beneficial for him as we get into the colder weather, because that will hold that heat from that fireplace for a long time and help keep that shelter warm, even without having to have an immense blaze going on inside. Really liking what he accomplished there with that shelter, and we'll have to see how it plays out as we actually get into winter. Beyond the shelter, we did see Tom trap a rabbit, and I wasn't even aware that there were rabbits in the area. I think this is the first we've either seen or heard of them this season, but Tom took one down, so he's got a meal for the week. So that's going to wrap things up for episode 5. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Always appreciate the comments. Lots of people pointing out some details that maybe I missed, which I do appreciate. One being last week that I forgot that Igor took down that grouse with the saw. So no, the muscle wasn't his only source of protein for the season. He also had that grouse. So yeah, that's it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.